Good morning, gang. Happy Monday morning. So how many of you believe that Biden got 81 million votes in 2020? Anybody? Right, okay. I mean, what was it? Barack Obama got something like 67 million and was the most popular president up until that time ever. Won twice the counties across the country that Biden did. Just insane, Just, do you believe it? How many of you believe that with all the mental problems that Biden has, that his chances of winning the 2024 election are zero? Or that he's going to be replaced by Kamala Harris and she's going to be the next president? Or insert candidate name here, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't really matter because the cheat is in, right? If you saw, I believe it was on Friday afternoon, nice holiday weekend deal there, that the Wisconsin Supreme Court overturned a previous ruling that used to outlaw absentee ballot boxes. Those things that the movie 2000 Mules blew the top off of, and watching people stuff briefcases full of ballots in. Michigan's trying the same thing, and you can bet it's coming in Georgia or Pennsylvania or any of the other swing states too, especially the ones that are currently run by Democrats, which would be Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan. Okay. Cheat by any means, win at any cost. That's the mantra of the Democrat Party. Y'all have seen what the map looks like as to where Democrat voters are in the United States. Up the West Coast, up in New England, a little bit in New Mexico and Colorado, those areas, those counties lean blue, and Chicago. That's it. Okay, the rest of the country is blood red. It brings up a real interesting scenario. A week ago, we were talking about the Tories in Great Britain losing devastatingly to the far leftist policies that England apparently so gratefully wants. Apparently, they didn't learn anything 250 years ago when they got their ass kicked, and this time they're going to lose their own country. England, within 10 years, will turn into a Islamic state. Prince William will never be king, unless Charles dies here real quick. But the royal family's done. Parliament's done, and Great Britain's soon going to look like Dearborn, Michigan, where they're going to run everybody else out, and it won't be long till you have Sharia law in Great Britain. Let's take a look at France. And remember how many times I've said, watch how Europe goes, and get ready for that in the United States. A week ago, after the first round of elections, conservatives around the world were, including me, rallying, going, look, Marine Le Pen just crushed the competition, crushed Emmanuel Macron, crushed the uber-liberal socialist party in France, and it looks like common sense was coming back to France. No. Yesterday was the second wave. And in normal French fashion, they waved the white flag. Okay. Surrender. I want you to look at this map real quick. Does that look familiar? It looks pretty similar to the U.S. map on how the people voted. Every one of those districts in France that is in blue voted for Marine Le Pen. Everyone, or the only one that didn't, was Paris, typical, liberals have a tendency to flock to urban centers. Paris was split between Jean-Luc Mélenchon and Emmanuel Macron. The rest of the country wanted France first, make France great again. Paris, which has a overwhelmingly predominant immigrant population, voted for the socialists, the communists, the leftists. I want to give you this. This is how the numbers across the country worked, okay? Again, I've said before, trying to figure out European politics is an exercise in futility. Marine Le Pen's party, the Conservative Party, got 32.05% of the votes. Jean-Luc Mélenchon's party, the leftists, the Communist Party, got 25.7% of the vote. And Emmanuel Macron's party got 23.15% of the vote. So basically, they got crushed in the popular vote. But the way they work with these coalition governments, you add the 25 and the 23 together, and then they split the amount of representatives they get in parliament and yada, 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 and it gets totally foobar, okay? And so the party that got the most support by the people has the third most seats in parliament. And I know somebody's going to say, well, gee, you know what? Then Hillary Clinton should have been president in 2016. No, it's a little different than that. Hillary Clinton didn't get less votes than Donald Trump, but partnered up with Jill Stein, and then because the two of them combined were better than Donald Trump. I mean, that's how goofy this is, okay? Around the world, the will of the people is being ignored, okay? Yes, I believe in the Electoral College in the United States. I always will, because otherwise, the president of the United States will always be picked by New York, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, and that's it, okay? None of the rest of us will have any votes, because there are, like every other city in the world, more people in the cities than there are in the suburbs and the rural areas, okay? I mean, simply put, Mrs. P and I were joking the other day about the size of our property, 3 acres, okay, nothing huge, and where her apartment was in Moscow. It was a 5-floor apartment. On 3 acres, they had 3 apartment buildings. Roughly 3,000 people lived in those 3 acres, where on these 3 acres, 2 people live. That's the difference, okay? So you look at it and you go, okay, you could talk about black versus white. You can talk about red versus blue. Now, the battle is basically between the urban areas and everywhere else. For some goofy reason, you move into a city and there must be an entry fee that says in order to move into the city, you are required to be lobotomized. Because it's everywhere around the world. The cities go goofy liberal and determine that their way of life is the only way to go. And therefore, we all have to do things the way they want to do it. No, that's what local government is for. You want to live in a complete shithole in a city? That's up to you. I don't, okay? Never have. Never wanted to live in a city. I've lived in the suburbs most of my life. lived in the city for a very short time and hated every second of it. Okay. But we're letting the people in the city dictate to us. And when there aren't enough of them to swing a state, for example, choose Wisconsin, Madison and Milwaukee have a tendency to vote blue, the rest of the state votes red. But Madison and Milwaukee are losing population because, they're shitholes. And so people are moving out. And a lot of the ones that are moving out are the ones that are conservative. It's like, sure, there's a migration to Texas and Nevada and Tennessee and Florida and, a lot of these states that are very red, or not including Nevada. Nevada hasn't been red in a while. That looks to flip. And everybody says, don't bring your liberal policies with. If I had a guess, I'd say maybe it's 10% of the liberals that are leaving. It's 90% of the conservatives. There's plenty of conservatives in Massachusetts, in New York, in California. They're the ones that are leaving. The blue states are going to get bluer, and most of the red states are going to get redder. Some may swing a little more to purple, but we're not going to have that many swing states left anymore. As is, we're already talking about this election's going to be picked by 6 states, and it's pretty much at this point down to probably 4. That's insane that we have such a divide in this country. But the only way in the United States at this point the left can possibly win is what they just pulled in Wisconsin. Cheat at all costs, okay? Winning is the only thing that matters. Running the country isn't what's important to politicians. It's their power. That's what's important to them. Nobody cares if Joe can do the job, just as long as Joe has a D behind his name. That's all that matters. Trump isn't a shoo-in in 4 months. We've got to make sure we beat the cheat. That's absolutely what has to happen. There's no way in the world Biden got 81 million votes. You know it, I know it, the Democrats know it, Joe knows it, everybody knows it. Okay. There just aren't enough people in the Democrat strongholds to get that, and there's certainly in a lot of them in the 98%, 97% of the country that's red by landmass. With this election coming up, and I know I've talked about it before, if you have the opportunity, the time to volunteer as a poll worker, do it. If you can volunteer as a ballot counter, do it. If you can't, if they tell you all the spaces are taken up, fine. There's no law that says you can't camp out at a ballot box and stand there drinking a Coke all day long. Oh, you're intimidating people. Why? Because my Coke can's red? That's intimidating to them? I'm not saying go wear a Trump shirt or a Kennedy shirt or a Jill Stein shirt or a Biden shirt. Go in a white t-shirt and blue jeans. I'm just a normal guy, normal gal, and this is where I just decided would be a good place to stand. I'm taking pictures today. I'm an artist. I'm a photographer. You can come up with a whole bunch of reasons to have an excuse to happen to be there, right? I'm taking pictures of just people. That's what I do. Just so happens that every time I take a picture, it's when somebody's coming with a briefcase full of ballots to stuff them in the box. And get with your district attorney that day, okay? Have a couple of you work shifts, and every 3 hours, go to the DA's office and go, here's the pictures I have between 9 and 12. Here's the pictures I have between 12 and 3. Here's the pictures I have between 3 and 6, etc., 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 etc. We have to stop the cheat. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. If it was a fair election in 2020, Trump would have been in office. If it's a fair election in 2024, Trump will win in a landslide. How many of you, first off, think we'll even have an election? Okay, 4 months is a long way to go, and you know damn well the Democrats have a whole lot of tricks up their sleeve. It's not like this came as a surprise to them. This wasn't the first time everybody saw a week ago Thursday, oh my God, Joe might be incompetent. They've known forever. They've got a backup plan. Don't think all this media frenzy that, oh my God, what are they going to do? Let them implode on themselves. This is all part, they all knew this was coming. They just didn't know when. Trust me, there's a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, a plan E. They got something up their sleeve. They just haven't dropped it on us yet. And whether it's a false flag attack, whether it's a surprise at the convention, we don't know. It's hard to prepare for something like that because they know everything that people are aware of. They know bird flu ain't going to work. They know lockdowns aren't going to work. They got to figure out something. They've got something up their sleeve. You know it, I know it, and everybody does. But we know they're going to cheat in this election. It's the only option they have. They don't have a good candidate. They don't have any candidate. Okay? You know, it's right now they're choosing between the potato and the turnip, to see who they can run. You have Lindsey Graham and Adam Schiff out over the weekend calling for both candidates to take a cognitive exam. And I can already see what Trump's reply is going to be. Anywhere, anytime. No problem. Okay. But they won't do it because they've got to figure out a way to screw us. It's up to us, the people, if we value this country, if we value this constitutional republic that we live in, if we want to continue our way of life and not turn into Great Britain or turn into France or turn into Germany, it's up to us to protect our own country. We don't have to do it with violence. We'll leave that to BLM and Antifa. I mean, hell, look what's going on in France yesterday. The communists won, they still went out and rioted because the heathens that they are, that's all they know. But it's up to us to do whatever it takes, whatever we can to stop the steal. Pinball out.